Yaha Ananta Shaktihi Bhagavan Anantaha Mahat Gunatvat Yam Ananta Ahu Utapuna Gunato Namatasya Hatamaikanta Parayanasya Yonanta Hatamaikanta Parayanasya Yonanta Shakti Bhagavan Ananta Mahadgunadvad Yamananta Mahu
Aita Parayanas Nasya Yonanta Shakti Bhagavan Ananto Mahad Gunatvadyam Anantam Ahu.
Uta punargrinato namatasya Mahatamaikanta parayanasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavan Ananto Mahagunatvadyam Ahu.
Uta punargrinato namatasya Mahatamaikanta parayanasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavan Ananto Mahadgunatvadyam Anantamahu.
Ta punargrinato namatasya Mahatamaikanta parayanasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavan Ananto Mahadgunatvadyam Anantamahu.
Uta punargranto namatasya Mahatamaikanta parayanasya Yonanta Shakti Bhagavan Ananto Mahat Gunatvadyam Anantamahu.
Uta punagunata namatasya Mahatma kanta paranasya Yonanta shakti bhagavan ananto Mahagunatvajam
Uta punagrinato namatasya Mahatamaikanta paranayanasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavan Ananto Mahat Gunatvad Yamanantahu
Uta Pudarga Prinato Namatasya Mahatamaikanta Parayanasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavan Ananto Mahat Gunatvat Yamanantamahu
Tapunargnanato namatasya Mahatamaikanta parayanasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavananando Mahagunatvad Yamanantamahu
Uta punagunanto namatasya Mahatamaikanta parayanasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavan Ananto Mahagunatvad Yamananta Mahu.
Utapuna ganantuna matasya Mahatma Aikanta Pranayana Tasya Yunanta Sakti Bhagavan Ananto Mahagunatpayam Anantam Ahu
Kuta punagre natunamatasya Mahatamaikanta parayanasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavan Ananto Mahagunatvad Yamanantamahu
Tapunagrinatu namatasya Mahatamaikanta parayanasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavan Ananto Mahadgunatvad Yamanantamahu
Ladies.
Mahatamaikanta parayanasya Yo ananta shaktir bhagavan ananto Mahad gunatvad yamananta mahuhu
Uta punarganatana matasya Mahat Maikanta Parayanasya Yunanta Shakti Bhagavan Ananto Mahat Gunatvad Yamananta Ahu
Kuta Punar Granto Nama Sasya Mahatma Kanta Paraya Nasya Yonanta Shaktir Bhagavan Ananto Mahad Gunatvad Yamananta Ahu.
Kutaha. What to say? Punaha. Again. Granantaha. One who chants. Nama. Holy name. Tasya. His. Mahatma. Great devotees. Ekanta. Exclusive. Parayanasya. One who takes shelter of. Yaha. He who. Ananta is the unlimited. Shakti, potency. Bhagavan, personality of Godhead. Anantaha, immeasurable. Mahat, great. Gunadvat, on account of such attributes. Yam, whom? Ananta, by the name Ananta. Ahu is called. And what to speak of those who are under the direction of the great devotees, chanting the holy name of the unlimited, who has unlimited potency. The personality of Godhead, unlimited in potency and transcendental by attributes, is called the Ananta, unlimited. Someone can read the purport.
Put forward many arguments against the lower caste men becoming brahmanas in this life. They argue that birth in a family of Shudras or less than Shudras is made possible by one's previous sinful acts, and that one therefore has to complete the terms of disadvantages due to lower birth. And to answer these false logicians, Srimad Bhagavatam asserts that one who chants the holy name of the Lord under the direction of a pure devotee can at once get free from the disadvantages due to a lower caste birth. A pure devotee of the Lord does not commit any offense while chanting the holy name of the Lord. There are 10 different offenses in the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. To chant the holy name under the direction of a pure devotee is offenseless chanting. Offenseless chanting of the holy name of the Lord is transcendental, and therefore such chanting can at once purify one from the effects of all kinds of previous sins. This offenseless chanting indicates that one has fully understood the transcendental nature of the holy name and has thus surrendered unto the Lord. Transcendentally, the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself are identical, being absolute. The holy name of the Lord is as powerful as the Lord. The Lord is the all-powerful personality of Godhead, and he has innumerable names, which are all non-different from him and are equally powerful also. In the last word of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord asserts that one who surrenders fully unto him is protected from all sins by the grace of the Lord. Since his name and he himself are identical, the holy name of the Lord can protect the devotee from all effects of sins. The chanting of the holy name of the Lord can undoubtedly deliver one from the disadvantages of a lower caste birth. The Lord's unlimited power is extended on and on by the unlimited expansion of the devotees and incarnations, and thus every devotee of the Lord and incarnations also can be equally surcharged with the potency of the Lord. Since the devotee is surcharged with the potency of the Lord, even fractionally, the disqualification due to lower birth cannot stand in the way.
Tapunar gunato nama tasya atmaikanta parayanasya yunanta shaktir bhagavan ahanto adgunatvat yamanantamahu. The senseless chanting is described here as senseless chanting of the holy name of the Lord, described here as chanting under the direction of a bona fide devotee or in cyclic succession. That makes one's chanting offenseless because it's the duty of the spiritual master to educate the disciple and train him in the process of devotional service. Many of those offenses are due to ignorance. One doesn't know that, for example, that the devotees of the Lord should be honored and respected. In other words, he may be a third-class devotee in the sense that he's a neophyte. Neophytes are just not educated well enough. So naturally, a neophyte cannot distinguish who's to be treated how. In other words, he may just think that only the important thing is the deity in the temple. He has some faith that the deity is God, but he doesn't appreciate who's a devotee, who's not a devotee. He can't distinguish that. But a second-class devotee, that means in the madhyam stage, he can distinguish between the Lord, who he worships and tries to develop his love for, and the devotee whom he makes friends with and associates with, the innocent whom he tries to help and educate with his compassion and mercy, and the envious persons whom he avoids. Third-class devotee doesn't know to avoid what type of association. He doesn't see any difference. There's a big difference, but that brings one to the second category. When he learns that, and taking initiation is part of that he has to learn. That if I want to be a devotee, then I'm going to have to associate with devotees. I can't associate with non-devotees and expect to become a devotee. Because birds of a feather flock together. Crows fly with the crows. and they congregate together, and swans congregate with swans. That's just the way it is. So, in other words, my friends are accustomed to going to the bars and other places of improper behavior, then if I want to be with them, then I have to go also. That's what it means to have friends and relatives. You do things together, talk together, eat together. If you eat with non-devotees, then you become contaminated. So that's explained. That's part of devotional service. So then he learns that the devotees are to be treated as advanced persons on the path because they're dear to Krishna. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, who's dear to him? He gives many examples. Those who are fixed in the absolute truth, those who are preaching on his behalf are very dear to him. Those who never try to engage in sinful activities, they are very dear to him. This is part of the learning process. It's a nice way to look at it. Instead of just these 10 principles, we're actually learning how to be these 10 principles. Offenses help us to become devotees. This makes us devotee. And if one is on the path of becoming a devotee, by following the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession, then he must learn these things. There are 4 sampradayas: Vaishnava, Brahma Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, Kumara Sampradaya, and Kumara Sampradaya. So any one of these lines will give one that type of education. And then he will be able to transcend the modes of material nature and come to the platform of spiritual life where one is engaged in service to Krishna. That automatically is more important than what birth one has, what type of family or what type of country. One may be born in a poor country. He cannot he cannot travel very easily because he comes from a poor country. Then there are restrictions which people from which country can enter the rich countries. If a person from a poor country wants to go and live in a rich country, he won't be allowed. So there are disadvantages, but in Krishna consciousness, there's no disadvantage that interferes with one's spiritual advancement. Social service, ohitukya pratiyata, it cannot be interrupted by anything. And one can, in other words, one can perform devotional service in any condition. Humans have the innate opportunity because they're souls. Every soul has a chance to serve Krishna and is supposed to serve Krishna. But when souls are in the bodies of other than humans, it's difficult because they can't understand. And that body is so limited that it's difficult for them to understand that they're not this body. A dog, he can't understand he's not the body. Even if he's an intelligent dog, he can help blind people walk, seeing-eye dog, or so many things. He can smell illegal intoxication in your bag. Very good smelling. He can do many things, but he can't understand. So, in most cases, he'll have to wait. The soul in that dog's body will have to wait until he reaches the human form through evolution. Not Darwin's evolutionary theory, but through the transmigration of the soul. In the Vedas, it says that the soul automatically evolves, going up, in other words, in transmigration, until he reaches the human form of life. When he reaches the human species, he can also go down, because there he has the opportunity to decide. He has sufficient intelligence as a human that if he wants to, he can get out of the cycle of birth and death. He can put it, he can put an end to all of his miseries once and for all, and he's supposed to. That's what the Vedas are there for. I thought, now is the time that when one reaches the human form, he should understand Brahma. Brahma means spirit. In other words, he should become spiritually advanced and engage in, he should understand God. What's the difference between an animal and a human? The difference should be that the human is acting under the directions of Dharma, Dharmena hina pashabir samanam. Without Dharma, then the human is no better than the animal. Dharma means the laws given by God, the instructions given by God. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat punitam. And he gives instructions for the humans. The non-humans, they're already following his instructions. Krishna says, everyone follows my path in all respects. Because he's controlling everything, everyone. But for them, the Vedas aren't meant for them. Vedas are meant for those who have reached the human form. And then, someone may say, well, what if someone's born in a place or a family or whatever, a circumstance where he doesn't ever come in contact with any devotees or spiritual literature? Then there's still an opportunity, because even if he follows the local religion or something, like, say he's from a group where they don't accept God as a person, they don't know about that, but they have some natural respect when they see a lightning flash or thunder, they show some respect, or a big mountain. Or they may worship trees or ghosts. There's different levels of worship according to the modes of nature. So, but we've seen now the chanting of Hare Krishna works with every culture on this planet, on the earth. There's been chanting everywhere, practically. Not every single inch of land, but in different cultures. all the continents have heard the chanting, and it's attractive to everyone. It's naturally attractive because it's Krishna. Krishna means all attractive, and he attracts. They don't have to understand the language. Our Mahavishnu Swami, some of you may have seen some videos of him. He goes everywhere. And everywhere people are taking it, chanting. Sophisticated. Sometimes governments may try to stop it. They say, no, we don't want religion. Communist. Religion is the opiate of the people. We don't allow it. They didn't allow it in Russia either, communist country. The Iron Curtain. Well, we made it, instead of the Iron Curtain country, the Iron Kirtan country. Now there's Kirtan going. And because people, even though they were taught to be atheists, raised atheists, but when they actually got the opportunity to associate with the devotees, it spread like wildfire. So there's thousands of devotees in Russia, there's thousands of devotees in Ukraine. And it's unfortunate that the leaders, for their own desires, have put together wars and fighting each other, thinking the land belongs to them. Each group is thinking, this is my land. I'm the controller, I'm the owner. And so therefore, in order to try to achieve their material desires, they're willing to sacrifice anything, sacrifice the people's lives. So it's an unfortunate situation in one sense. But in another sense, a devotee is never it doesn't interfere with his spiritual life. Even if he's in a country like that, where it's difficult. We hear the stories about the devotees who underwent those difficulties. Sometimes they were imprisoned for chanting Hare Krishna. So when they were in prison, they wouldn't allow them to have their japa beads, chanting beads. So they made beads with bread, dried bread, and they chanted on that. And they wouldn't allow them to have the books. Books were allowed. So somehow or other, somebody got some books smuggled in. Sometimes they'd copy. If one book came, another person would copy it, and they would pass it around, be read by it. So in this way, I don't know if anyone was there during that time, here. It was a difficult time, but so many devotees became really advanced by taking to Krishna consciousness under those circumstances. And in that case, even though they were born in atheistic families, atheistic countries, they can become devotees and be fit to perform sacrifice, be fit to become initiates, be fit to become brahmanas, be fit to become sannyasis, gurus, and be fit to associate with the Supreme Lord, as described here. They get surcharged, since the devotee is surcharged with the potency of the Lord, even fractionally, disqualification due to lower birth cannot stand in the way. Prabhu Vishnave Namaha. There's that verse. Hirata Kunanda Pulinda Kirate Hunanda Pulinda Pulkosho abhir yavana kasadaya yenye cha papa charapashayasha shujanti tasmai prabhavishnavena. Even one born in a family that's, or a culture that's conditioned to eat animals or even dogs, chandalas, or even humans, that's not a disqualification for becoming a devotee of the Lord. If that person gets the opportunity to associate with devotees of the Lord and chant the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It doesn't matter. He can become pure devotee. Mahatma. Mahatma means great soul. Broad-minded. Broad-minded means Vidya Vinaya Sampane Gavini Hastini Shuni Chaiva Sabaki Cha Pandita. Pandita means one who has broad-minded. He sees equal vision. Every living being is same spiritual particle. So there's no distinction, no discrimination. And he sees all living entities as parts and parcels, quality one with God. Therefore, he treats all living entities respectfully, because Super Soul is residing in their hearts. So a pure devotee doesn't even unnecessarily harm any living entities. The story of Magar the hunter is, he was hunting and Narad Muni came and said, "Why are you doing this?" Well, that's another point, why he was half killing them. Narad Muni objected to that. He objected to the lifestyle as well, but he pointed out that if you half kill them, because his father had taught him to do like that, to enjoy their suffering, Narad Muni said that that's even more sinful. It's enough sinful to kill them, but then to cause them torture, that's even more sinful. You'll have to pay for that. There'll be reactions for that. So by Narad Muni's transcendental potency, the hunter was made to understand. He understood that I'm doing wrong and I should change. And he said, "Now I'm ready to do what you say. You tell me what I should do." Narad Muni told him to give up his hunting business and just go and take his wife and make a cottage by the holy river and chant Hare Krishna, worship Tulsi. And Narad Muni said he would supply him food, he would take care of his. So he did that, the hunter did that, and he became famous as a devotee. And people were so impressed. Then once Narad Muni was passing with his associate, Parvat Muni, and Narad Muni said, "Oh, I have a disciple here, near here. Shall we go and see him?" I said, "Yeah." So they were approaching, and the disciple came running. He was so enthusiastic to see his spiritual master. And he was about to pay obeisances, to bow on the ground, but he saw some ants, so he moved the ants carefully so he wouldn't hurt them. And Parvat Muni was astonished. This is a hunter? And now he won't even, he's so kind-hearted, so gentle, he won't even harm the ants. And Yes, that's the amazing quality, the touchstone nature of a pure devotee. He can make low-born persons or degraded persons into elevated saints. That Hunter became a saint. Any questions?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, thank you very much. You mentioned on the beginning about the association of devotees, how it is important, and we should not associate with non-devotees. And but even when we came already to association of devotees, we can see that there are many differences. We used to have some relationship with some younger devotees, some equal devotees, some higher devotees, and then there are also differences in different stages of devotional service. So I would like to ask, like, what is the proper way to associate, like, with devotees on which level?
Well, we shouldn't associate with the opposite sex very closely. That's for starters. Because although it's quite popular all over the world to not make distinctions, to associate very closely, but that's harmful because the bodies are made, the bodies that we have, these material bodies, are attractive to members of the other gender. And so this type of association will incite lust unnecessarily. And we see lust is increased. It's not that lust decreases by this. They sometimes say, well, if you don't associate together, then, well, I don't know, they have their different philosophies, that it's natural to be lusty. Yes, it's natural to be lusty, but if you associate very closely, then you become more lusty. And some lust is accepted as natural. But when it becomes unnecessarily increased, then it ruins one's life and it ruins the culture, ruins one's chances for spiritual advancement. So that's the first thing, one should learn that. You should see all men should see women as mother. That's the Vedic culture. In fact, not only Vedic culture, it's a sign of an intelligent person, Chanakya Pandit says. How does it begin? Yes. Matravat paradareshu, paradravyeshu lostravat, amavat sarvabhuteshu, sapandita. Pandit, who's a learned person? Learned person is he who sees all women except his own wife as mother. That's the first qualification, learned person. Then the next is he considers everyone else's property to be like refuse. Not that he mistreats it, but that he doesn't try to take anyone else's property. He doesn't steal. He's not envious of someone else's property. And third one is he treats all others as he would like to be treated. The golden rule in the West we have. These three things, if one has those three types of education, he's learned. So you can see how important it is to disassociate closely. That doesn't mean that there's hatred, one party hates the other party, but they respect each other just as one respects one's mother. One is supposed to. The natural respect in practically every culture, human culture, or any animal culture, any culture, they respect their mother. In fact, some animals, lower species, they respect their mother more than human species respects its mothers. And association with the neophyte devotees, I don't know if you want me to continue. There'll be a lot of shaking, but I can still think all right. What do you think? You can show the camera on other places. So many other devotees. Good opportunity. So you said, your question was, how does one associate with different devotees? For example, well, any devotee, their association should be appreciated. Sri Rupa Goswami describes that for the neophyte devotee, he considers up to the level of first initiation, if I'm not mistaken. They're considered in the neophyte level. They're to be respected because they're chanting Hare Krishna. So one who's chanting Hare Krishna, that's great. Even if he's just a new person on the street and he just learns the mantra and chants, we know we're excited about getting their association. In fact, we look forward to going out amongst them and trying to encourage them to chant, because many times they do. And when they do chant, they become purified very quickly. So we like that because the Lord likes that, and they like it. So it's auspicious for everyone, and it's good for the world. It's good for their family. I have experienced that association even with newcomers. Say someone comes and he wants to try it out, the lifestyle, living with devotees, to see what it's like. His association is valuable because by his association we become inspired. We say sometimes they get up early in the morning. If we're alone, we would probably have a difficult time getting up early in the morning, but if you have some new devotees with you, and if you say, all right, we're getting up early, and they'll also go along with it and they'll do it. Their association is very inspiring. But we have to help them by giving them the direction, this is what we do. And if they're willing to do it, then immediately their association becomes very, very much appreciated. Just as in a family, it says, house is not a home. And the family is not complete unless it has children. Putrahina. Hey, what is something? Shune, Riyam Shunyam. So they want to have children in the family. That makes it nice. Everyone likes to raise their children. Of course, nowadays, everything's so upside down, topsy-turvy. They're hesitant to have children also. They're afraid they may interfere with their sense gratification. But in normal societies, having children is a happy thing. They can take any number of children, their lifestyle. So having children, having newcomers, that's very nice. It's inspiring for us. The older, it's like the parents, grandparents, they always want to know where their children are, when are they going to have children again. So they'll have grandchildren. And they volunteer without pay. They say, we'll take care of the grandchildren for you. We'll come over. In the Vedic culture, that's also part of the plan. They live together. We have that a little bit here in some of our Grihastha families. They live the older generation and the next generation, third generation. It's nice. That way the culture stays intact more easily. Grandparents help in raising the children. And if the grandparents are more pious or raised in a more pious environment, that's helpful for the grandchildren. Grandmother teaches. It's like you always hear in the scriptures, the gopis say, our grandmother, Purnamasi, she taught us this and she taught us that. So that's nice. So raising children and new devotees, that's a happy time. They're willing to learn. So teach them the most important thing. Unfortunately, in the present education system, they teach them other things that are not important. They teach them that they're this body and that life is meant for sense gratification. But if Atato Brahma Jigyasa, if they're taught their spirit soul and Krishna is God, and they should worship God and serve God, think of God, chant, they'll do it. They become great associations. Many times, parents, by raising their children in Krishna consciousness, then if later on the parents may happen to get a little distracted for some time, the children remind them, oh, mother, it's time for Mangalarti. Father, what about Mangalarti? So the children become a great asset. If you train them in pure devotional service, they'll help you and help out others. So we should be kind upon interested persons who are innocent and want to learn. We should be willing to spend time and be patient with them, give them association, and that's Prabhupada's policy. He didn't say someone wasn't allowed to come in the temple. Anyone could come in. That was his. Oh, doesn't matter what he did before. Because everyone is subject to their karma. So he may have so many different things. But, so what was the criterion for one to stay in the temple, for example? Criterion is, are they willing to follow the practices? Are they willing to chant? Are they willing to rise early? Are they willing to take up some service? If they're willing to do that, then it doesn't matter what they did before. Because that'll all be cleared up, or changed. It says in the scriptures that just by chanting, clapping one's hands in the kirtan, all the sinful reactions of this past are eradicated, just as when one claps his hands, many birds fly away. And the birds, they fly away. Birds of sinful reactions. Which particular people were you talking about associating with? Devotees. If they're following the practices, that means they're in good standing there. Their association is very desirable, and we offer them obeisances out of respect, and we friendly with the devotees, worship the Lord, compassionate to the innocent, and avoid the non-devotees. Non-devotees, they may have some different categories too, but especially the envious, the word is used, dvisatsuva. Dvisatsu means they're envious of God, and they'll adamantly try to work against God or his devotees, put obstacles so that there's no need to try to associate with them. Let them do what they like, but we keep our. Is that right?
Yeah, yes. I just wanted also that like we have this, we have always like association with some equal devotees, some older devotees, like younger devotees, and some.
I'm saying, younger devotees, take compassion, train them. Devotees of the same stature, make friends with them, don't. Try to get along nicely with them. That's important, not to quarrel over false ego matters. That's a thing. In order to live with devotees, we have to become peaceful. And we have to tolerate, not take offense. If someone doesn't give us the respect we think we're due. That's the challenge of living with devotees. Because we're not used to some of these practices, and we might think that we're being offended or disrespected. Someone asks me to do something, or I don't do something the way someone feels I should do it. So, devotees who are in the position of leadership have a great responsibility. They may have the responsibility to guide others, but they have to do it very gently and nicely, out of love, because it's a voluntary movement. Persons have come to serve voluntarily, they're not being paid. So therefore we have to be very. Not only that, even if a devotee hires someone to do some service, he still treats them with respect. And in dealing with authorities, those who are more advanced, naturally one should want to be their assistant, be their servant. Because by serving them, we heard, oh, you didn't, Shusho Shadadanasya. Were we discussing that verse? Sushusho Shaddanasya Vasudeva Parayana Agham Dunvanti Kartsnena Niharami Vivaskara. Or maybe that's a different word. Anyway, by serving those devotees who are free from vice, one gets affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. So, we should like to be under the direction of such devotees, better advanced devotees. That's great, because then now I won't have to do what my mind dictates to me. I'll just do what the devotees tell me to do. That's wonderful. It's not wonderful if one says that to anyone. An interested person says, I'll do whatever anyone tells me to do. If he's not in proper association, proper guidance, he'll be misled. But that type of clean slate is described like when you go to a teacher, teach you how to learn, let's say, Sanskrit or some language, mathematics, whatever. He takes a slate, a blackboard, and he writes on it. But if your slate's got all kinds of writing on it, he says, teacher says, erase that first, then I'll teach. No, I want to keep all that. No. How can I teach you? You have the whole board filled up with writing and things. You have to erase it, then I give you. No, I want to keep all that. Then he can't learn. He's not ready to learn. So when we come, we should be ready to clean off our slate and let the spiritual master write on the slate, and then we accept that. That becomes. Any other questions?
I just had two comments. Maharaj, you're speaking how sometimes our children can be our teachers. And one time, my 7-year-old daughter, I kind of got frustrated. I raised my voice at her a little bit. Not the best thing to do, but she told me, she said, "Dad, we're devotees. This is not how devotees treat each other." And then another time, we had a tradition back in St. Louis that we would have lunch together, me and the devotees in the temple. Immediately following that, we would all go out for Harinam, for a half hour, whatnot. And one time it was raining, and the other Prabhus were thinking, "Oh, we can't go, and let's not go. It's raining, this and that." And again, my daughter chimed in. She said, "Come on, guys, we have to go on Harinam. This is too important. Don't worry about the rain. Let's go."
Haribol. Yeah, we need that kind of association.
Thank you.
For children, going out in the rain is more fun. Yes.
I'm wondering about the offenses chanting. So Prabhupada gives an instruction to chant offenselessly. So if we just chant our rounds, is that it? Or do...
No, that's what we're talking about. It's all inclusive, all the instructions. That's part of offenseless chanting, to be guided by a bona fide spiritual master. But that's part of it. Teaches how to associate with other devotees, how to associate with non-devotees, how to chant, how to understand God, the demigods, how to understand the scriptures, how to have faith in the scriptures, how to not think that chanting is material, how to not speculate, come up with a new philosophy. This is all part of the devotional service. This is what we're taught every day. So that's why I said that. Prabhupada very nicely pointed that out. He's learning offenses, chanting, by joining the Sampradaya. Okay. Yes?
About the holy name, we say that Krishna's name and Krishna are same, but how do we understand that intellectually?
How do we understand what?
How can we understand that kind of logically or intellectually?
Logically? Well, even in the material world, we have some semblance of understanding like that. Like we say, there's one song I remember, man is speaking about the name of a girl he met, and he say her name. It just, her name is like, when you sing it, it's like praying or something. He took the name of that person. But it's the same as the person when I hear that name. So that's sound. And it's picture. If someone disrespects a picture, say someone has a painting of some person hanging in the wall, and some other person comes up, puts a mustache on, has graffiti that people like to do, or whatever. So he'll say, why did you do that? So disrespectful. What do you mean disrespectful? It's a piece of what is it? Canvas. It's a piece of canvas, some ink, some colors. Disrespectful of the canvas? No. Didn't you see the painting? That's a very respectable person in our country that you just did that. That's not a person. That's canvas. But no, because the form is representative of the person. It's a person in one sense, not all senses. But if you walk in and say, that's General MacArthur, that's not General MacArthur. No, that's his portrait, but we say there's General MacArthur. And we should be respectful. So some idea they have, and it's correct to some degree, that material things and the names they stand for have some similarity. Some of yes, but not all. The picture of General MacArthur, if you take a photograph, you might not be able to tell the person from the photograph. But the photograph can't speak, the photograph can't think. He can't eat, he can't do things that the person can do. But on the spiritual level, because it's a much broader spectrum of aspects in all regards, there is such a thing as there's no difference between the sound or the form and the person. In other words, the name of Krishna is not different than Krishna. Anything that you can get from Krishna, you can get from the name of Krishna. If you say Coca-Cola, it represents a drink, you think of it. You think of the drink, Coca-Cola, but you don't taste it because it's just the name. But if you chant Krishna, you get Krishna's personally there, right? So you get all the attributes on the absolute platform. He's there not just in form, not just in sound, not just in creates a certain feeling, but in all aspects. And there's many examples of how, for example, the deity form. The deity was asked to come and bear witness because he was the only witness to a promise that one Brahmin made to another Brahmin. So the one Brahmin, when he was challenged, they said, you're making up this story. He says, no, there was a witness that this other Brahmin, he made a promise. And there was a witness. They said, who's the witness? He said, the deity Gopal. A deity? Witness? Yes, and he said, if you don't believe me, I'll ask him to come here. The atheistic son of the other Brahmin said, okay, yeah, if your deity comes here to bear witness, then we'll agree to the promise made by my father. So the young Brahmin went back 1,000 miles, I think it was, a long distance. He said, okay, my dear Lord, I told you I might have to call you as witness. I have to go, I have to bring you, you have to come. You're the only witness. This Brahmin's about to somehow or other not fulfill his duty and his promise. And so the deity said, what is this? You want a deity to walk? I never heard of a deity walking. And the Brahmin said, well, if you can talk, you can walk. So he said, okay. He agreed. He walked all that way. Sakshi Gopal, witness Gopal, walked 1,000 miles. And then they believed him. Oh, the deities actually come. So sometimes he does like that. To the advanced devotees, he does reveals himself in so many different ways. Anything else? Yes?
You mentioned devotees in Russia placed under terrible conditions. They were able to make great advancement, became pure devotees. I was wondering whether sometimes it's an advantage then to be placed under difficult conditions or take birth in difficult situations.
Yes. It can work that way. It can work the other way too. And to be born in such circumstances is definitely difficult. But if one is very fortunate and sincere, and even those difficulties, they don't impede his making advancement. Thank you. And they're the example. But generally speaking, it's more desirable to be born in a nice devotee family where everyone's chanting. That's why it's said, Bharata Bhumite Hoila Manusha Janmajar, Janma Sarta Kali Kara Parupakar. To take one's birth in. Bharatvarsha is fortunate because it's a pious place where one who has performed many pious activities gets his birth there. But why? Why is it pious? Because there's temples of Krishna everywhere, chanting of the holy names. It's because it's natural to chant. And even in India, even now, although there's many who are not exactly devotees of Krishna, per se, they may claim to be devotees of Durga or Shiva or whatever, some demigod or some. But because they accept the Vedic principle and the Vedic culture, they very easily will chant Hare Krishna. We see that. The Indian people, wherever they go in the world, some of them are Shaktas, some of them are Mayavadis. But when they get a chance to associate with Krishna consciousness movement, very easily become devotees of Krishna. That's a great advantage. And the behavior, the habits. If you're born in a family that only eats prasadam, you won't have to have any non-prasadam food. If you're born in another family, you may get some other types of eatables which are not beneficial for your spiritual advancement or anything else. So there are those advantages. But it's not the only consideration. If someone's sincere, Krishna will help him in any case, any circumstance he finds himself. Prahlad was in the most undesirable situation you could be in. His father was in charge of the whole universe, and his father was demon number one, completely against Vishnu. So that's a difficult family to grow up in. But he did it because he had faith in Krishna. Krishna helped him. Anything else? Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.